Okay, good evening, everyone. It is November 8th, 2023. This is Planning Board. Pam, could you do attendance, please?
Sure. Michael Gore,
Here.
Robert Romer,
Here.
Austin Groner.
Here.
And I know Jim wasn't going to be here tonight, and so we're waiting on Mike and Eric, but we'll proceed ahead as planned. I don't know if the applicant for 357 Main Street was going to come tonight, Pam, or a pretty uncontroversial change, right?
Yeah, we met on site and reviewed the site distance, so I told him I didn't think there'd be a problem.
Yeah.
The board didn't seem too concerned with approving the changes as unsubstantial, so he might not be planning to attend.
Okay, so this was just unsubstantial change to move 6 parking spaces from the back of their lot to the front of their lot. Is that kind of in that cul-de-sac or horseshoe area?
Yeah, I have the plans.
There must be quite a rock in the middle there.
Well, I just wanted to look at it to make sure it wasn't too bad. Trying to pull I sent you the photos, but I'm trying to pull up the plans just to detail the difference.
I drove
So-
past it quickly too.
I just had them pulled up and they disappeared. All right, let's see. They're there. Okay, just a different. Sorry about that. So this is the approved set, and then the change, you'll notice that the roundabout here doesn't have any parking off of it. And then I also wanted to point out they requested one additional change, which we didn't discuss at the last meeting. There's an outdoor storage area here with a indoor storage shed proposed here. And they want to just flip-flop the two. And it was in the last set of plans, but we failed to mention it to the board at the last meeting. So I'll just show you on the revisions. You can see now the shed is on the east side of the property, and then the outdoor storage is to the west of that. So they just flip-flopped. It's all the same square footage, same impervious area. So there's been no change really. I think they just thought the flow was a little better if they flopped them. And then the 6 parking spaces are located here. So those are the 2 changes that they're requesting the board vote on as unsubstantial and not require an amendment to the special permit.
And you had no problems with the parking spaces as they were?
No, it was fine. I don't think they're gonna get used that often, and the boulder was higher towards the west of that roundabout area. There was pretty good sight distance.
Any other board members have questions or concerns?
No, that's pretty wide access all the way around there. 24
Yeah,
feet. Wow.
it's a width of a road.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no issues, then I will make a motion to make an unsubstantial change to the special permit granted on July 21st, 2021 to relocate 6 parking spaces from the back into the horseshoe, as well as to rearrange the outdoor storage at 357 Main Street.
Second.
Michael Gore,
Aye.
Robert Romer,
Aye.
Austin Groner,
Aye.
Eric Nyland.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay. The second item on the agenda is the land use planning grant. And so this is kind of a preliminary subdivision or a preliminary submission from the planner that we're working with Is that
Yeah,
correct?
Randall
Randall.
Arendt.
All right. I'm always going to pronounce his last name
Yeah,
wrong.
I'm not really sure
Arendt.
myself.
So are we discussing the kind of is, so Pam, do you want to just give a little bit of background on what this is and
Well, Bob applied for a grant, a land use planning grant, and received a reward. So we've hired Randall Arendt to do an evaluation of our cluster development regulations as they apply to the subdivision regs and the zoning bylaw. And those are his preliminary suggestions. He will be doing an in-person workshop to go over kind of the report, I think, but in a workshop manner in late January, and then following up and meeting with the board on the report that was filed and things that we can do to enhance our regulations.
and is the goal tonight to kind of walk through some of these preliminary recommendations and sort of discuss them, or is this just kind of an FYI? Here's what is coming up.
Yeah, I think we should review and discuss, identify anything we think he kind of missed or should take a better look at, or anything we think is headed in the wrong direction. I think it's good if you flag anything now. If everyone hasn't had a chance to review them and would like to discuss them at a later date, we can do a Google Drive folder too and comment on it in a live format. And
Yeah, it takes quite a while to digest
yeah,
that technical memorandum.
Through it, and some interesting things. So basically, a big part of it is so he's just renaming Fosford, right? Keeping the sense of it, but calling it Foscrid. I don't know, FOSCD.
I'm just calling it cluster for now because
cluster. Okay, yeah.
yeah, whatever we end up.
I mean, a couple things that jumped out at me. So, I mean, we had initially on cul-de-sacs, we'd always done plantings on them, and then a couple of years back, someone kind of pointed out, well, if you don't do plantings and you just do a regular cul-de-sac that's all paved, the impervious space can be smaller. And so for at least the last two subdivisions, we went towards that. I don't think they look as nice, but so his recommendation seems to be, or he thinks that we're using the planted cul-de-sacs. So I'm curious to get his take on that.
My experience has been that DPW kind of is against those types of islands just from a maintenance perspective, and it makes plowing a little more difficult.
Yeah.
I don't
definitely brought that up.
Yeah, I haven't spoken to Bolton's DPW director, but that seems to be a pretty common theme throughout communities.
Yeah.
Well, I think we got to step back though and not listen to DPW, but look at it in a broader perspective. What's good from an environmental perspective, what's good in terms of recharge, et cetera, and then seriously consider who's responsible for taking care of anything in the middle of a cul-de-sac. I think the best way you can describe his approach is inverting the process. Instead of coming in as we do and taking a look at how many houses can be put on using our standard regulations, and then backing away from that and going for a phosphid, and not necessarily thoughtfully taking into consideration the open space land, where it is, how it's used. His perspective is turn that around a little bit and start out with what does the land present from an environmental perspective, from wetlands, slopes, treed areas, etc. Take that into consideration in terms of appropriateness for housing and for open space, and then work from that, as opposed to the way we're currently working.
I mean, I like the concept of cluster by right and not special permit, especially.
Yeah.
We talked, a couple meetings ago that basically, at least the last three subdivisions that I can remember all went phosphid.
Yeah. And
So,
his
I like-
comment about, rather than giving people the opportunity of not doing it any other way, insist that it be done in a phosphid way, which is pretty much the way things are going already. Harvard has been through this. Probably, I believe it's been going on for 4 years. It was finally passed at town meeting, and it might be well worthwhile taking a look at the bylaw that the regulations they finally came up with.
So you mean they made conventional subdivision be by special permit and phosphid by right?
And to the best of my knowledge, I haven't
Yeah.
seen the final one, I have to admit. I was involved in the process up until probably 8 months ago and kind of lost track. But that certainly was the perspective of a joint meeting among the planning board, a number of residents, among a number of developers and contractors. And their perspective was it's a great idea, but boy, why go through special permit? It's a real pain in the neck. Why don't you guys tell us what you want and we'll do it, rather than having lots and lots of negotiations. And that's basically where it ended up.
I see you also recommended reducing the acreage from 10 to 5 to trigger some of the cluster developments.
Yeah.
I think a few years back, I don't know, Eric, if you remember this, like I think we were looking to see how many more lots there were in Bolton of various sizes. Did we do that at some point? Like how many 10-acre lots we have left?
When we did cottage overlay, I think we were saying it was 20 acres or more, but there was still even a bunch of those. I don't know that we went down to 5 acres, but I think that would be a good study to do. There's probably a bunch of 5-acre lots, but I'm not sure.
Well, that study, the data for that is readily available now as a result of the
Okay.
master plan and all the GIS work that's been done. So it's not a painful process.
Okay.
You have that already, Bob?
I'm sorry.
You have that already as part of the master plan?
I don't think it's in a summary form, but it could be easily made to be in a summary form.
Great. Yeah, no, that'd be super helpful. I mean, I'm always curious sort of how many more potential, things that we're looking at.
I know there's definitely like interior, like no road access lots.
Right.
Like this one behind the town common, and there's the one next to the Boy Scout camp. There's definitely some big lots that don't have access. But
Yeah. But again, you can,
like that, right?
yeah, that's, if you get the big picture and then step back and take a look at those individual lots, you can back them out, I think, reasonably quickly. But the developable land map and statistics have been put together by BSC. So we can look into that.
Yeah, I mean, that drives a lot of this, right? Like if there's dozens of potential future subdivisions, then we definitely want to, study these recommendations really carefully and adopt the ones that make the most sense. If there's 5 left, it's a little bit less important, but I mean, obviously still important.
Well, and it depends on what you define for the overall area for a subdivision. That's worthy of consideration as well. So if it gets smaller and we're looking at tighter lots on a smaller overall subdivision area, then the number goes up, obviously.
I definitely like the idea, Pam, of making this into a Google Doc and being able to put comments into it, and that could sort of help steer the. So is the next plan for Randall to come present? Like, is that or does he want feedback on this doc now before he makes recommendations?
Yes, the latter. He would
Okay.
like feedback generally so that he can focus his portions of his presentation.
Okay. Yep. So that would be helpful, Pam, if you could set that up in a Google Doc and we can all comment on it.
looking over his density section, I mean, basically he says that what we're doing is pretty good, but he's just saying if you build that in and just what do you say? Just test out 10% of the lots or something like. So
Well,
The
I'm all,
soil.
Yeah.
Which density? I mean, he talked about how for open space, we should go to like what, 50%? Was that what?
yeah. Well, he was just
Well-
talking about like the number of units.
Yeah.
But I think we should, build in, yeah, like if say it's 33% is a certain density, but if we go to 50%, you could give like we could add bonuses in, and and then like other things. If you keep it under a certain size, you can give more bonuses. We could look at things like that.
I was curious about that. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if we want to steer it less towards McMansions and more towards housing diversity, if you say you're under 1,800 square feet or under, something like that, you get an even more, you can have some more density bonuses. I think we should definitely look at that.
Yeah, I mean, Bob, and so a lot of it was, I mean, he was even talking about like 1/8 of an acre lots at one of those places, right?
Yeah.
I mean, does he typically just go by lot size, or does he talk about square footage of houses? Does it get into those sorts of details?
Yeah, and he goes into, certainly the last time I got involved in this, he was talking about multifamily houses and small condos and things like that. Which, obviously save an awful lot of open space and accommodate, reasonably affordable housing. I'm not sure if there is such a thing in Bolton, period, but.
But I know, like Bolton Woods Way. I mean, I think that's a great neighborhood, and I think on the way to like, my daughter used to go to the Sterling Gym. There's like this neighborhood is Eagle something. I'm not sure, but it's like that's typical. It doesn't look like they even have basements. It's just like flats, like maybe like 1,500 square foot houses, and we should it would be nice to add some type of, so we have like apartments going in. It'd be
Yeah.
nice to have some starter home type situation if we could build that in and add bonuses and try to create more open space.
Yeah, and his point, certainly in the seminar that I went to, was that if you have thoughtful landscape and architectural design, you can actually fit that kind of stuff in very nicely into a community like this.
Yeah. So I mean, like we tried to do the cottage overlay. I don't know if like we fold those principles into this, or if that's too much of an overreach for this, but
I'm not sure. I think that's part of it. I think
Yeah.
it would be well worth having that conversation. I
mhm.
mean, he looked at,
Definitely,
I can't
yeah.
remember the.
Definitely should bring up the cottage overlay with him.
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah.
And if you look at what's the projects that have been done, for instance, in West Concord and Concord, those are, very tight, but boy, they're very nice. And they're relatively small. The individual units are relatively small and the land is very small.
And Eric, we've still never had someone use village overlay, right?
Mixed use village overlay.
Yeah, the mixed use.
Yeah, no, not really. No.
Yeah. And
I mean,
was-
the major problem with that is just the infrastructure. I think, it's just hasn't worked out.
the guy who was looking at for Bush Mill Road to put in, was that
Yeah, I
going to
think-
be mixed use?
I think so. Yeah, I think
We'd have
that's
to
what he's-
rezone it for that, but that was
Yeah, right. Yeah, he wanted us to rezone it for that.
Okay. Yeah, no, lots of interesting ideas. I'm really curious to hear him talk a little bit about how the water and the septic would work. Like he was talking about for really small lots still having individual wells, like over on the common space, and including, it sounded like individual leach fields over there. It kind of sounds like a nightmare. But maybe he has, I would expect, well, maybe like joint leach fields or something, but so I don't know how that all works with those.
Well,
those
as a matter of fact, I had that conversation a week or so ago with Bill Brookings. And he's somebody we need to get involved in this. He obviously knows the regulations and the evolution of the regulations and some of the things that when I was on the Board of Health were outright outlawed and now are a preferred way of doing business. So it would be good to get Bill's perspective on this.
And for everyone's knowledge, he is the health inspector or the director for Neshoba, something like that.
He's the sanitary guy for all the towns in Neshoba.
Okay.
So he's responsible for Bolton, and he's been around as long as I can remember, and has watched the evolution of both the DEP and individual town regulations through that whole process. And trust me, he knows the regs upside down and backwards.
Yeah, no, he would definitely be a good guy to get involved with this for sure. Okay, anyone else want to have anything else to talk about with the cluster development stuff, or
No.
If not, we'll just we'll have Pam can set up the Google Doc, and we'll have everyone add comments to it. And then, so do we have sort of a time frame, Bob, when he's looking to get feedback from us?
Well, and he's going to be on vacation through the end of this month. So he's not looking for comments much before that, obviously.
And when were you planning on having him come before us, in kind of winter, spring time frame? Do you
Yeah,
know when the-
winter. And then we were talking conceptually about having a public get together, like what had been done in Harvard sometime, I believe, Pam, January.
The end of January, beginning of
Yeah.
February is what
Yeah.
he stated.
Is the goal to, I mean, the goal, I assume, is not to try to get something on spring town meeting based on his
No.
recommendations?
Not a chance.
Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah, great, so we'll, everyone can start commenting on that, and we'll get that feedback to them.
So actually, I do have like just a question. So if we do the like as of right, and it's not special permit, like where, like, do we still handle the bonding? Like how, so basically, I know we have the special permit process where we design it and then we sign the special permit, but after that, we kind of like review it and manage it, or do we not come into play until, I guess they would have like bond reductions, that's when they would come to us. I guess, when does planning board come into play in that scenario?
I honestly don't know.
If it's not a subdivision, I don't know that. If they do common land owned, it depends how the regs are written, I guess.
Yeah.
If it's common land that doesn't require construction of a way, then it wouldn't come before you unless you write it into.
But how would it, I mean, if it's a subdivision, there's
Well,
gonna be a
standard
way.
subdivision comes before, is the standard subdivision a special permit?
No,
Or just conventional subdivision?
Oh, was it's Fosford, right? But
Yeah,
Right,
it's only
but
phosphorus.
if it's like a common driveway, which isn't really creation of a way, it depends how the regs are written. Like a lot of 55 and over communities have common driveways as access to the units. No, those aren't subdivisions, those are usually special permits. So if you take away the special permit, you just want to ensure you review it in some fashion.
so, yeah, so I'm just trying to understand. So if we do it as a right, basically everything that we would have requested in the special permit is written down and then they follow it. And if they don't, like I don't understand how it works, is all I'm saying. Yeah.
What you're saying is if they don't abide by the very specific regulations,
Right.
what teeth do we have, or what teeth are there?
Yeah,
Whoever-
exactly.
Yeah, I don't know it's a good idea to take the special permit away personally, because subdivision limits you to the ways and access to the lots, not the lot development itself. So you're restricted to stormwater and ways and not individual lot grading and construction. So personally, I don't know it's the best thing to remove the special permit option. Usually it's part of the subdivision process anyway, so.
But so say we did do it and then they say, okay, we want our road to be public. Like, I don't know, how do we know how it was built? And
Well, I think, that's a very good point. That
Yeah.
if the town is gonna take it, then the town should have assurance and inspection and recourse that whatever it is they're buying meets the specifications that have been put out by the town.
Mhm.
And I would suggest at this point, you know, as they used to say with Packards, go ask the guy who owns one. I think we should talk to Harvard and get a perspective on, you know, first of all, what they've done and better, and read their regulations, but at the same time, talk to their planner, who is fairly new, but their town manager used to be the planner. So, you know, the institutional memory is all there, and present some of these questions and concerns. You know, one of the ones I had was, well, suppose you get really extreme here and you go for, say, a 6-unit condo with one drive up to it. Well, is that one drive? How do we take that into consideration? You know, so there are a bunch of questions when you start getting into small and tight housing as to how that fits into the, you know, our traditional regulation and regulatory approach.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it just ultimately comes into play if the road's ever going to be public and how it's
Yeah.
designed and stormwater and how they overall, you know, how everything's
Well,
working.
stormwater, I think, Pam, correct me if I'm wrong, but that still will necessarily be in our purview, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
for
So-
the roadways under
Yeah,
subdivision. So it depends, like I said, it depends.
But is if it was so if it was like a long private drive and stormwater doesn't really come into play until it runs onto the public road, right? So if they just have water rolling over their driveway, but it doesn't come to a public road, who cares? But
Right.
then if they tried to make it a public road, then we do care.
Well, they better start from the very beginning,
Yeah.
thinking that through. But I think that,
Driveways
you
are
know-
special permit.
Yeah, well, common driveway. Yeah, we look at all that with a common driveway.
Yeah.
Shared driveway, we don't. So
Shared, but shared's only 2, right?
you got two and less. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, but that's 2 individual residences right now. Suppose we have multifamily, how does that fit into the picture?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You have to see
Yeah.
how it's written.
Yeah.
And the bigger, you know, the question that is somewhat generic at this point, based on what we've seen, for instance, on Meadow Road, is, yeah, we're worried about what goes onto the common way, the town taking, but what do we do to assure that there is enough stormwater design so that that doesn't happen? So that we're not in a situation where the slope is right at the, you know, first 50 feet and all the rest of that stuff per a driveway permit. Yet what's upstream of that, from a water and drainage perspective, is sufficiently designed so that we can be reasonably assured that the guarantee is backed by something. Which on Meadow Road, you know, had we looked at it a little more carefully, we probably would have scratched our heads and said, well, what do you mean it's not going to come out on Meadow Road? You know, your lot shows clearly that it would. So
Yeah,
that's
so-
a bigger picture that's generic, I think.
So I'm definitely all for like density bonuses and cottage. I'm a little skeptical of the as of right, because we've all seen developers can run amok.
Yeah,
So I've noticed.
understand what he means by
Yeah,
that. So,
exactly. Yep.
yeah,
Well-
everyone just put your, go ahead.
there's
Dan.
there's a note in there that developers will make the project look nice because it's more marketable, and that isn't always my experience. It depends on the developer. So I don't know, giving them so much control by an as of right project is the best thing for the town.
Well,
and
that's a
our-
landscape architect talking.
Yeah.
and are the aesthetics just face value and how
Yeah.
you know. Yeah. So anyway,
Anyway, yeah, put
Yep.
all great comments, put them in the doc, and we'll get them to them.
Good.
Okay. All right.
Is, by the way, I still have a bunch of copies of his book. If you folks are interested in reading it.
Yeah,
So
Bob, I'll
really
take a
by
copy if
design
you
is
have
the
one.
book.
What's that, Austin?
I'll definitely, I would appreciate a copy if you have one handy, Bob.
I have several happy, but
Great.
yeah. To be
Please
fully
keep
transparent
one in
about
the-
this, I can't afford the second edition. It's $140. I bought the others at $20, and I think they're 95% as good.
We don't get a free copy when
He
he
comes to talk to us.
No, he even charged me $100. You said it was a great cut.
Okay, yeah, I mean, you could put
That
that,
in the, we used to keep one in the lockbox out in front of town hall. If you
Well, I
want,
can put multiple, who wants to see one?
I mean,
I
I'll
would-
certainly read through it. I think I
Okay.
flipped through it.
at the box one time, but
Okay, so I'll put a couple of them in the box.
okay, sounds good. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
That'll help my bookshelf here.
It looks heavy. In the background.
Yeah,
Okay, next item is the town planner report. So go ahead, Pam.
Right, not much. I thought maybe we'd have a draft of the results of the public forum, but we don't, it's not available yet, so I'll distribute that to the board once it's received for your review and comment. And then the property owners for 500 Main Street are actually coming in to meet with staff tomorrow at 10 o'clock to review the project and answer some of our questions that we had in terms of what they're expecting for a zone change, if they're considering a LIP application, that type of thing. So I'll be able to report more back on that project, and they're hoping to give a preliminary presentation to the board on December 6th.
I mean, is there intention that they want to get, if we chose to go in a certain direction, that they would want to get on the spring town meeting? Or-
I don't even know what their
Yeah.
time frame is. I've heard that they've been kicking this project around for quite a while, so I don't know if they're all of a sudden in a rush or what they're expecting, but
yeah. It's been
MassWorks
several years.
projects. What's that?
It's been several years.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Because I mean, December, typically we have public hearings on bylaws in February. It's like
Right.
time's running short.
Yeah.
It'd be like really, government likes
Well,
to
and
move
this-
slow. It'd be tough to like jump right at it.
This isn't a hearing, right? There again, this is an
No,
informal
this
meeting.
wouldn't
No.
be a hearing.
I
No,
was
it's
just
just to
saying
get.
by, I
yeah.
was just
No,
saying bylaws.
all right, I'm just saying like they're they're just still coming informally, like not even a hearing to
Yeah.
talk like to talk to us. So
Right.
on that note, like I am gonna be unavailable on December 6th.
Okay.
So we can either move our December meeting until the 13th, or you guys can do the 6th without me.
13th is fine by me.
Pam,
Yeah,
does
the
that
do
work
have
for
a
fourth
you?
is good for me.
I have a scenic
A shade
tree
tree hearing?
hearing scheduled for that. Not scheduled yet, so but that's going to be in the next December meeting as well.
I mean, the 13th is the second Wednesday anyway. I don't know why we went with the
well, we do
6th.
do we do first and third or second?
No, we do
Fourth.
second and fourth.
Yeah, I think we're trying to avoid the Christmas week, the 27th. I think we're trying to avoid that, so
Oh.
we moved it up.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, I think,
We were gonna
The
do,
6th and 20th, was that what we were gonna do?
Yeah.
oh, and then
Oh.
maybe we wouldn't do the 20th. I just say just do the 13th. There's typically not much going on in December.
Okay, so change
I
that
mean,
to the
it's up
13th.
to everybody, but
yeah, I'd say let's do the 13th.
Yeah,
I'm fine with that.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Pam and I were talking the other day, and it's like normally
The
the
fall is
what
kind
I
of
would
our busy season, and it has been nothing. And so if it's Pam was saying it's probably the interest rates that are keeping people from starting new projects. But so Pam, you said that the 580 people also they're delaying for a year.
Well, the spring, he said he expects to start construction. I think they were expecting to be in the ground already, but it
Yeah, he said they
seems
were
like
gonna
that.
Oh, immediately.
Yeah, it seems like they're still working on their financing, and their property hasn't been transferred yet. So
Do you know if that's for the apartment or for the office or for both? Were they were doing the office first in order to stage for the apartment? Is that
yeah,
okay?
the office project's not expected to take too long. I think the apartment complex is expected to start in the spring.
Okay, so 500 Main Street.
They'll be on December 13th. Okay.
What's going
Um,
on with United Cultivation?
They pulled their building permit. I think they started construction. I haven't been by to check on it.
Yeah, they had stuff up in the
Windows, looked like they had screening up
Yeah.
in the windows last time I went by
Okay.
there.
So they're moving forward.
Looks like
They
it,
are,
yeah.
yeah.
Good.
Anything else from you, Pam?
No, that's it.
Okay. So we have a driveway surety release for 38 Long Hill Road. I don't even remember that one. When is that from? It must have been a long time ago.
It is from 2020.
Okay. And it's completed, no problems, all good.
Yeah, the DPW director signed off on it.
Okay. I will make a motion to release the driveway surety for 38 Long Hill Road.
Second,
Michael Gore,
Aye.
Robert Romer,
aye,
Austin Groner,
Aye.
Eric Nyland.
All right.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, approval of minutes.
So we're still waiting on the July and August ones. I saw the ones from the 25th. So we'll just vote on those tonight.
Yes. Do we
Okay.
have a,
Pam, I don't know if this matters, but I wasn't in attendance on the 25th. So are we voting on those ones tonight or no?
yeah, we only
we don't
need
to
3.
vote. Yeah.
We should be okay.
Okay, so I read through them, looked fine. So I will make a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes from October 25th, 2023.
second,
Michael Gore,
Aye.
Robert Romer,
aye,
Eric Nyland,
All right.
and then Austin, you abstain from the vote.
Correct. Abstain.
Minutes are approved by a vote of 3-0.
Okay, next agenda
Item is any other business? Anyone?
incidentally, just a bypassing comment on mortgage rates. I just went through a month ago our safe deposit box and dumped a lot of paper. And one of the things that I dumped was a mortgage for our home here in 1981 at 16%.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember my
Dad
dad
telling me about 13% mortgages when I bought my first house. So yeah, wild.
Yeah,
But I think the principal on those loans were a lot lower, I think, relatively
Yeah.
speaking. So it
That's
you know,
true.
I think it makes
Yeah.
up for it.
Yeah, I'm curious what really, like, if we're gonna see projects go forward. I mean, I was curious about the South Bolton Road phosphid that we approved, Pam, right before you got here. If they're gonna break ground or if they're just gonna be in a holding pattern at this point.
Speaking of that project, they just dropped off the Mylar for planning board signature.
Okay.
So I'm gonna throw it in the gray box if everyone could stop by and sign it. I'm hoping it'll fit in there. It looks like maybe it will.
Yeah, I think we've done the big plans in there.
Okay.
But I mean, you can also, you can keep them in your office and we can come into the office too. I mean, you're there. Town hall's open Monday through Thursday at least, right?
Yeah, I'm usually there 8 to 4.
Yeah, I can make that work.
The doors close usually at 2:30 on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, but I'm usually there.
Okay. Yeah, whatever's easiest for you, Pam.
I'd
If
come
you
by
wanna
in
put
the
them
morning anyway. So
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else? Anything that we'll talk about?
Just one last question. I think, Pam, you sent a list of, I guess there are courses that
Yes.
we're allowed to take. I wanted to ask, are there any recommendations on courses for somebody who's sort of new to government? Any that you'd recommend taking that I could sign up for perhaps?
I don't remember exactly what the topics are off the top of my head, but I can look at it tomorrow and tell you what I think might be helpful.
That sounds good. I know there was a course on zoning law, so that might be a good place to start.
Yeah, those are always helpful, especially when we discuss bylaw changes. I saw there was one on variances that wouldn't be really relevant, though, helpful information to know. And I can't remember the other few. There was one on a master plan, but I think it had passed.
I
I
did
mean-
take one of those courses.
This is several years ago, and it was useful.
If there are any, like we were talking about this at the master plan group, our little group, talking about like the Forbush Mill 117 intersection, and like creatively zoning small pads. I don't know if like Concord, I don't know, Concord's different, but like down when we go to Mystic, they have like next to the aquarium, they have this like little development where there's like a bunch of little shops, and it's really, there's some restaurants, but it's a lot of retail, but like a type of zoning that we could, encourage smaller businesses. But I mean, if you have like kitchen sink is a great business, but they're kind of like isolated. Whereas if you had like a group of them together, and it was kind of like more of a destination to go to. I mean, this was, I think as a board, like if we could creatively work on zoning to entice,
Yeah.
those type of businesses. I know like it's kind of like, it's a really tough thing to do, and to get the ball rolling. But I mean, if there were any courses or any like, any way to get a perspective on that
Yeah,
type of
I-
small
I
business
got a
zoning.
different email that had the full list of courses, and Austin, one you might want to do is on Tuesday, December 5th, was the roles and responsibilities of planning board and ZBA
Mhm.
boards. And ZBA doesn't apply, but planning board, roles and responsibilities, that even might have been the one that I took a long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's a great PowerPoint for that. That actually I have, that I learned a great deal from. I may have sent it to you, Austin.
You did, Bob. Yes. I think that was also very helpful. Yes.
I know I went to one when Erica was the planner. We went to one in Devon's about dense residential zoning and density bonuses, and how to like, and it was very helpful. And it was interesting because there was like there's planners from regional towns, and there was people from planning boards and ZBAs. So it was interesting to hear people's perspectives on similar towns and what they're doing and stuff,
Great. Thanks for the recommendations, everybody.
Okay, any other topics?
Nope.
We're at 7:43. This might be a record.
A record.
I don't know what to do with the rest of the night. I'm used to like being drained at like 10 p.m. crawling to bed.
Okay, so
If there's no other business, I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Bye.
Aye.
All right.
Okay, have a good night, everyone. Thank
Later.
you.
Thanks.
Have a
Bye,
good
family.
night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Right.
Have a good night.